Hello everybody, welcome back to Read and Reread. I am Angelia and today I have a haul. It's kind of a smallish haul, but I wanted to share with you the books that I have picked up and acquired over the past several weeks. I'm trying to be more mindful in 2025 with my purchases. For a while I was calling it low buy, but I think we probably need to just call it thoughtful buying. The truth of the matter is that books, reading books, looking at books, talking about books, purchasing books, borrowing books from the library, everything related to books gives me joy, lifts my spirits, but it's always good to be mindful about what you choose for budgetary reasons, for space reasons, and I feel very comfortable with my level and my volume and my rate or pace of book purchasing. So I think I have about 8 books right here that I want to talk about today, share with you what I have brought in. About, well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are backlist. There's 3 that are more in the new release category. So let's take a look. The first one is an upgrade copy. I went to Half Price Books and I got 3 plays. That's what I'm going to show you first. And the first one is Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. This was my pre-existing copy. It is the copy that I guess I got in high school. It's very, very yellow. It's very smelly. It's kind of brittle. And I found this nicer, larger format. The cover photograph is from the original Broadway cast from 1949. I have this thing, I don't mind cast photos on plays. I don't like movie tie-ins with photos of the cast or the actors on a book from the movie, but I don't mind it for plays. In fact, I think it's pretty cool if they have a picture of the original cast. A rather jaunty photo of Arthur Miller on the back. So in May, my drama project, Endless Drama on Discord, will feature Arthur Miller. So in a break from tradition of having 2 different plays by 2 different playwrights in May, it will be The Crucible and Death of a Salesman, mainly because I couldn't decide and I was the one making the project, so I put them both in there. And I did upgrade my copy of The Crucible, and now I also have Death of a Salesman. I forgot about the subtitle, Certain Private Conversations in 2 Acts and a Requiem. And I have not reread Death of a Salesman in many, many years, nor The Crucible. And I'm really excited about that part of the project coming up in May. And now I'm all set. And this copy will go into my donation pile, which is getting taller and taller because I haven't actually move the things out the door lately, so I have a healthy donation pile to deal with. I should do that really soon. Next play is Night Mother by Marsha Norman. This play won the Pulitzer Prize in 1983. This is a play that I have heard about, never have read, never have seen the movie. I know it's a movie with Sissy Spacek and Anne Bancroft. I know that it is about 2 women, a mother and a daughter. That's the entire cast. I think it's pretty dark. It might be about suicide. So sometimes I just know how to pick them. This one is not in the project right now. Maybe will be next year. I haven't really tried to start working on that at all yet, but it's just one that I picked up because I've heard a lot about it. I love the cover. I just wanted it for my collection, my play collection that is sort of being revitalized and expanded. I find that I'm having pretty good luck with plays that have won the Pulitzer Prize for drama. Thus far, when I have read one of those, I've never thought, why on earth did this win an award? Which sometimes happens with literary awards, but so far that's been a pretty good indicator that I am going to enjoy the play. All right, the next one also won a Pulitzer Prize, and it is Clybourne Park by Bruce Norris. I didn't know about this play at all. This one, I saw it on the shelf at Half Price. There's my receipt. And I pulled it out and looked at it, and then it sounded really good, so I bought it. Listen to the description. And keep in mind that we read A Raisin in the Sun back in February, so that is really fresh in my mind. Clybourne Park spans two generations 50 years apart. In 1959, Russ and Bev are selling their desirable two-bedroom at a bargain price, unknowingly bringing the first black family into the neighborhood, borrowing a plot line from Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun, and creating ripples of discontent among the cozy white residents of Clybourne Park. In 2009, the same property is being bought by a young white couple whose plan to raise the house and start again is met with equal disapproval by the black residents of the soon-to-be gentrified area. Are the issues festering beneath the floorboards actually the same 50 years on? Bruce Norris's excruciatingly funny and squirm-inducing satire explores the fault line between race and property. So I was so intrigued because A Raisin in the Sun has to do with a black family in 1959 in Chicago, and they are considering purchasing a house, and the house in question is in a white neighborhood, and they receive some backlash and some pressure to not move into that neighborhood. The thought that turning this around and imagining the couple that is selling the house, the white couple, and then moving into contemporary times where the neighborhood is going into another new phase of the demographics and socioeconomic factors, that's really interesting to me. And I think it's a clever premise, and the idea that it's a satire and that it's funny is also calling to me, because a lot of the plays, I'm not purposely hunting out the most dark and dreary and depressing themes and motifs in American drama that I can find. It just kind of happens that way. I don't know. I feel like I picked a lot of dark ones, but I try to sprinkle in some with humor when I can find them. So sounds like this might fit the bill. Maybe it'll be a next year's project, or maybe I'm just going to read it for myself. I don't know. My local library has a library book sale that's sort of a rolling sale that happens 3 or 4 times a year. I missed the one. I went back in the fall, and then I missed the winter one because we were out of town. So they were having it again last week. I stopped by and I only got one book because I am a pillar of virtue and restraint. I did find a book that I have been specifically looking for a while. I've been looking for a good secondhand copy because it's been around for a long time, and I didn't feel like I needed to buy a new copy of it. But every time I came across a secondhand copy, it was all beat up and dirty, or so it just wasn't, I didn't find something to my specifications. But they did have it at the sale the other day, and so I got a copy of True Grit by Charles Portis. And I have heard so many solid reviews for this book. I've always wanted to read it. I'm really not a reader of Westerns in general, but there's two that I have wanted to read for a long time. And in both cases, I have seen film or TV adaptations, but never read the book. And now I'm in possession of both of these books, which are Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry and True Grit by Charles Portis. I've seen the more recent movie with Matt Damon and Haley Steinfeld. Is that her name? Steinfeld? Not Seinfeld. Okay, I'm going to put her name on the screen. Who plays the girl. And I guess that movie was from maybe about 10 years ago or so. And I thought it was really good. I never saw the old movie, which I don't think was a very faithful adaptation as far as I've ever heard. I like the style of the cover. This book was originally published in 1968. This is a 2004 edition with an afterword by Donna Tartt. And now that I've brought that up, let's just take a moment to collectively dwell in our thoughts about Donna Tartt and her exceedingly long writing process. Donna, are you okay? Progress report, Donna? Okay, getting off the topic, back to True Grit. Charles Portis has long been acclaimed as one of America's foremost writers. True Grit is his most famous novel, published in 1968, became the basis for 2 movies. It tells the story of Maddie Ross, who's just 14 when the coward Tom Chaney shoots her father down in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and robs him of his life, his horse, and $150 in cash. Maddie leaves home to avenge her father's blood. With one-eyed Rooster Cogburn, the meanest available U.S. Marshal, by her side, Maddie pursues a killer into Indian territory. True Grit is eccentric, cool, straight, and unflinching like Maddie herself. From a writer of true status, this is an American classic through and through. So now I have two Westerns, Juno on the Range. It's going to have to happen, right? The next one, the last backlist title of this batch, I heard about this book from a recent video that I will link in the comments. I have to go back and see which video it was in, but it was a video made by Hannah of Hannah's Books, and she's been doing a wonderful video series each month where she highlights some upcoming new releases. And what's great about these videos is it's not the new releases that you hear about again and again in other places, not the ones that are going to have a big table out at the front at Barnes & Noble. These are an interesting blend of fiction and nonfiction about all kinds of fascinating topics. Sometimes it's reissues or special editions. Some of it's a little more academic in nature. Interesting books on history topics, literary topics, just a very fascinating blend of books that you might not notice unless you really comb through a lot of review sources, but she has condensed it and highlighted some of the most interesting upcoming new books. And so I was watching one of those videos, and she was talking about a new book that was about Jane Austen, and I can't even remember the details about that book, but in the process of discussing that new book, she mentioned an older book that she had read and loved that it possibly reminded her of, and that was the one that I zeroed in on. And as soon as the video was over, I looked it up, tracked down a copy on Thrift Books, because it just sometimes when people talk about books, sometimes you go, oh, that sounds kind of interesting, and you jot it down, and it just kind of simmers, and once in a while you're just like, wow, yeah, that one, I need that one. And so that's what happened to me. And so I bought a copy of Austen Years, a memoir in 5 novels by Rachel Cohen. And I can already tell you this is going to be my nonfiction read in July, or Jane Austen in July. I don't know what else is going on in that event, or the themes, or the prompts, or the books, or whatever, but this is going to be my nonfiction selection. Here is the description. In the turbulent period around the birth of her first child and the death of her father, Rachel Cohen turned to Jane Austen to make sense of her new reality. For Cohen, simultaneously grief-stricken by the death and buoyed by the birth, reading Austen became a refuge and a ballast. Through Austen's work, she reckoned with difficult questions about mourning, memorializing, living in a household, attending to the world, reading, writing, and imagining. So I think that she goes through the 5 completed novels in tandem with these examinations of things happening in her own life and in her own heart. And it just instantly, just the premise of this book and the concept just really resonated with me as soon as I heard about it. And it was one of those ones where it just, what could go wrong? I could tell in advance this should be something that I'm absolutely going to love. I'm on a permanent trail, like a hamster wheel of rereading Jane Austen, but this one is probably going to spark me to do it again in a different way. So I can't wait to read this, and thank you, Hannah, for bringing it to my attention. The other 3 books in this haul video are new releases, or newish releases. In one case is very, very new release that I'll explain in a minute. So first of all, 2 of the books they were on my list, they were on my TBR, I was really interested in them, and then it sort of inflated, or it blew up, because they also appeared on recent prize lists, and it just, I don't know, it activated me, and I just really wanted them sooner, faster, nower. So first of all, we have The Dream Hotel by Laila Lalami. As you can see from the tabs, I have been reading this book. Laila Lalami is going to be appearing at the San Antonio Book Festival that I'm going to in a couple of weeks. And so with this book in my possession, I wanted to go ahead and read it before I attend her talk, and it is a buddy read with my friend Michael Clark. We are in the midst of it. So I'm not going to say a whole lot about the book because I galloped ahead and finished it. So I am holding my fire so we can talk about it. But it's really good. It is a dystopian novel. It is about a woman named Sarah Hussein who is detained at the airport coming back into LA after a business trip to London. She is an archivist at the Getty Museum, one of my favorite museums. She is flagged at the airport and detained. And as the story unfolds, we find out that this book is set in the near future, and all of the different technologies that we rely on for different aspects of convenience, all of our communications, our daily movements, patterns, trends, lots of different things I don't want to get into too much because some of it's spoilers, but there's an algorithm that is formed kind of like your credit score. The way your credit score is based on different events and activities that you have done. Everyone has a risk profile, and it's their risk for committing serious crimes. And if your risk goes above a certain level, you can be flagged and detained. The detention is supposed to be for 21 days just to determine that you're actually safe, and then you can leave and go about your business. But sometimes those detentions end up going much longer. And the reason why and what happens and the underlying dangers is what the story is really about. Our main character is flagged and detained in one of these facilities. That's all I'm going to get into right now. So I'll talk more about it probably on Friday or next week or whenever it is that we have actually had more time to discuss it. But I am hoping that it does make it to the short list on the Women's Prize list. Another book that came up, it was in my list and then it popped up on the International Booker list. And by the way, I think I've talked about this already, how I bought the UK cover because I didn't like the US cover. Same thing for the next one. I bought both of these books at Blackwell's because I preferred the UK cover. The price was also either comparable or better, and they always have free shipping. So I did buy Under the Eye of the Big Bird by Hiromi Kawakami, and translated by Asa Yoneda. Kawakami is a Japanese author. This is also a dystopian novel, and I am loving the reviews that I hear of this book. And I'm treading carefully because I don't want to know too much, but just the feel that I get from the reviews of the strangeness of it, the format of it, it all works for me. The thing that sold me on this book when I first heard about it, what it was about, and when people talked about the unusual structure, they frequently mentioned How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu. I had to go back and check what his last name was. I love that book so much. And that's a book, not everybody loved it. I loved it. I've read it twice. I will read it again. So any mere mention that it is somehow reminding people of that book, that definitely piqued my interest. I think it's pretty experimental and pretty weird, but I'm here for it. Welcome to the distant future. Humans are on the verge of extinction and have settled in small tribes across the planet under the observation and care of the mothers. That's with a capital M. Some children are made in factories from cells of rabbits and dolphins. Some live by getting nutrients from water and light like plants. The survival of the race depends on the interbreeding of these and other alien beings, but it is far from certain that connection, love, reproduction, and evolution will persist among the inhabitants of this faltering new world. Unfolding over geological eons, Under the Eye of the Big Bird is at once an astonishing vision of the end of our species as we know it, and a meditation on the qualities that, for better or worse, make us human. Now, I know that a lot of people are not big fans of dystopian fiction. Some people don't really care for speculative fiction in general or science fiction, and everybody needs to read what they like. Some people also maybe they do like some dystopian fiction, but they feel like right now is not the right time. They're just not feeling, because they tend to be kind of dark and disturbing. I can't really explain it. I am very, very disturbed and dismayed and stressed out by current events, but it doesn't really affect my interest in speculative fiction. It, I think it affects my reading in the sense that at any given moment, I might need to break up or alternate or space out certain levels of darkness in my reading. But overall, what happens to me, and another thing, I'm getting a little bit off the topic, but I know some people, when things get very distressing in the world, they just cannot really read very well. Maybe they take a break, they have a slump or a gap, and they find it difficult to read. I kind of have the opposite effect. Like, I go harder, I read more. I think I'm hiding in a book from reality, I'm not sorry about it, but I don't disconnect. I'm completely in touch with what's going on. I am participating in the discourse, but I do take refuge in the reading, and it doesn't really affect the type of reading that much, if that makes any sense. So, whatever. So that's just a long explanation for why I am buying dystopian novels. But I am so excited to get to this. And it might not be till May because my April docket is so full, but I'm really looking forward to it. And then last but not least, and I think this might be a little bit on the lighter side, but I have to, first, there's a story. So this next book is an auto-buy author for me, an author that I love who's written, I think this is her 5th book. And I know some other people love her as well that watch this channel. And I knew that she had a book coming out, and I thought her book was coming out in April. And then I was at the bookstore a couple of days ago this weekend, and I was just browsing around. I wasn't going to buy anything. I was just looking at books, and I saw it. And there it was. And I thought, oh, I must have been wrong. I must have had my date wrong. It's out. And I hadn't pre-ordered it, so I was all excited, and I bought it because Stephen has also read all the books by this author. So I thought, well, we'll both read this. And then I got home and I sent a picture of it to Pat from Book Chat with Pat, because she's one of the friends that I know loves this author. I said, look, Pat, look what I got today. And she said, how did you get that? It's not out yet. And we both looked it up, and indeed, it is not supposed to be released till April 8th. So the bookstore made a mistake and put the book out too soon. And I think it probably happened because they were rearranging. There was things down off the shelves and stacked on carts all over the store. They were doing some kind of big shuffle. So I think somebody opened up a box that wasn't supposed to be open till next week. So I have an accidental advanced copy of Murder at Gulls Nest by Jess Kidd. But anyway, here it is. So Jess Kidd's new book. Now, when I first heard that she was writing this book and I looked it up, I was a little bit worried because it sounded kind of cozy, and I'm not a cozy mystery reader, really. I thought, wait, this better not be too cute. It's listed as the first book in a new series called Nora Breen Investigates. And so, but then I started reading reviews, and the reviews were really solid. The advanced reviews sounded really good, and I thought, well, you know what? It's okay. I'm good. A mystery series that's not too dark, but it's not too fluffy. That's actually a good lane for me, and that's something good that I like to read in between other things. Okay, I'm good. The very first page is a prologue, and I just glanced at it, and in glancing, I saw somebody, this is page 1, so it's not a spoiler, but I saw somebody in some kind of a pit with drippy dark walls and scuffling rats, and I said, oh, we're gonna be just fine. The Jess Kidd, the sinister thread of Jess Kidd looks like it will be alive and well. So here's what the book's about. The first in a sparkling new 1950s seaside mystery series. That's what threw me off. I thought, oh, I don't know. But then it says, 1954. When letters from Frida, her dependable former novice, stop arriving, Nora Breen asked to be released from her vows. Haunted by a line in one of Frida's letters, Nora arrives at Gull's Nest, an eccentric boarding house filled with lively characters in Gore-on-Sea in Kent. A seaside town, a place of fresh air and relaxed constraints, is the perfect place for a new start. Nora hides her identity and pries into the lives of her fellow guests. But when a series of bizarre murders rattles the occupants of Gulls' nest, it's time to ask if a dark past can ever really be left behind. All right, so we have a nun who leaves that life and hides her identity, goes to an eccentric boarding house. And this is also a really good sign because Jess Kidd excels at creating offbeat characters. They're so good. So she goes to this boarding house. It sounds kind of a closed room mystery kind of situation if something's going wrong in this one particular boarding house. So anyway, my initial trepidation has passed, and now I think it is just going to be really good. I forgot to show you one little delight. The book that I got from Thrift Books, the nonfiction book, the memoir about Jane Austen, the Austen Years, had a bookmark. I love it when this happens. Well, it doesn't even have to be a bookmark. When something is left behind in a book. But look what they left. It is a bookmark from a bookstore called Mrs. Dalloway's Literary and Garden Arts Bookstore in Berkeley, California. If you have ever been to this bookstore, please shout out in the comments. But it has the details about the bookstore, and then on the back there's a little blurb about the novel Mrs. Dalloway and Virginia Woolf, and it's just such a great little souvenir bookmark, and I'm going to keep it in here and use it when I read that book. So there you have it. Those are my recent acquisitions. Let me know what you think. Have you read any of these, or you plan to read them? What strikes your fancy? Have you found anything exciting lately? I am trying to. This is me trying to be restrained. This is restrained because that book festival is coming up in a couple weeks. I probably. There's no probably. I will get some things at the book festival, and then I will share them with you. So that is it for now. I'll be back later on in the week. Have a great day.